26-year-old Frenchman who currently lives in Australia since 2019. I met my girlfriend, Mina, 1 month after my arrival in Australia on a farm where we both worked. We worked there for a couple of months before the crisis hit the planet. When that happened, there was no more work on the farm, so we had to find something else. At that time, we either had two choices. We can either go back home and we split up, or we stick together and try to get through this on our own. We chose the second solution. We then decided to leave our seasonal job in the countryside to go into town in the hopes of finding a new job. Bingo. Good news for me. An employer has agreed to hire me to work on a local Australian football team. This employer, let's call her Kathy, she explains to me that I can work for the football team, but that currently, because of the crisis, quarantining will be mandatory, even if at this time Australia is already in a good spot compared to Europe. Anyway, I'm hired. I'm gonna have to wait until the lockdown passes and the football season continues. So I explained that it tempts me, but that it will be tense for Mina and me to stay unemployed during the quarantine because we have rent to pay and food, etc. You should know that Kathy has a heart as big as Australia. Sensitive to our situation, she says that she has a solution for us. She has a holiday home several miles from Brisbane that belonged to her father, who is now in a retirement home, where we could stay for free while quarantining. At this time I didn't believe it too much. I told myself that there is something fishy about this, but because of the situation, I agree. This is the best solution for us. We accepted this and moved into this house a few days later. Animal Crossing, Splatoon, MK, we enjoyed playing video games during this lockdown. Everything was going well. We felt a little lonely because this house is in the countryside, but apart from that, we are well. We even have a garden and all of this for free. I also point out that this house is in the middle of nowhere. I just have a neighbor, John, who takes care of horses I've been friends with, and that's it. To give some context on this house, there is a main entrance door with large fuzzy glass so you can see things through it. And there is another wooden door behind the house that overlooks a veranda connected to the house. This is a single-story house, so there are no floors, and to finish, no curtains at the windows except in the bedroom. Context is given. 3 or 4 weeks after I moved in, Kathy calls me with good news. I can go to work. First day of work, everything goes smoothly. I like what I do, very good atmosphere, etc. The only problem is we're still in Kathy's father's house, which is several miles from Brisbane, and I don't have a car. So I have an hour and a few trains to go and the same one to come back. But like I said before, I have nothing to complain about. I have a roof over my head. For the record, Mina was still looking for work. She wasn't as lucky as I was. So she was mostly at home while I'm working. Second day of work. It went great, just like the first day. Until 5 p.m. I'm about to finish my job when I got a call from Mina. She whispered something, but her voice was trembling. Right away I feel that something is off. She was quiet, playing Animal Crossing on the couch, when suddenly she saw a silhouette through the blurred window of the main entrance door. Too small and too wide for me or even John, and she understands very quickly what was going on. She stares at this figure that is now motionless facing the front door. It is at this moment, when she tries to get up to gently walk away from the door, that this guy begins to frantically knock on the door. Her heart is racing. She doesn't know what to do. She tries to be as discreet as possible so this guy thinks that no one is home or will open the door for him. She finally decides to hide in the wardrobe of the bedroom, because it's the only room where we can't see what's happening from the outside. Snuggling between the hangers that are closed, praying for him to go away. She suddenly remembers that there is a second door behind the house that is open, and she doesn't know if it's locked or not. Courageous, she decides to rush through the house to reach this door, but then during her run, she sees this guy sneaking past one of the windows of the kitchen. He went around to check if there is a door at the back of the house. Panicked but already at full speed, she decides to still go to the door and run as fast as she could for the whole sprint. She must close this door before he tries to open it. It is finally when she presses the latch that she hears the individual trying to push the door. Completely scared, she goes back to hiding in the wardrobe, and that's when she called me. As I said earlier, I struggled a little to understand what she was saying on the phone to me. Her voice trembled, but I immediately tried to calm her down so that I could have clear information about what was going on. After a minute or so, I asked her to focus on her breathing and listen to me. She calmly describes to me what just happened. I realized that I have to go home as soon as possible to make sure that she isn't in danger. I asked her to stay in the closet and call the police. Call me back right away until I get home. She decided to stay on the phone with me, which is not the best solution. She should have called the police. But though I was in so much stress and having her on the phone continuously reassured me. I ordered an Uber and made him speed as much as he could. After a few minutes in my Uber, still with me on the phone, she explains to me that she can't hear anything anymore. No one knocking on the door and no one around the house. I advise her still not to move, but she motivates herself to take a look out of the wardrobe. To finally confirm to me that the silhouette is no longer visible behind the door and that no one seems to be around the house. I'm in front of the house. I go to meet Mina and give her a big hug, explaining that I'm here. She has nothing to fear. 6 p.m. It's night at this time of the year in Australia. I check the logs and try to pass the ideas by playing a game and watching anime. Big mistake. I left out a detail of great importance. Check around the damn house, Luke. Why did you not check around the damn house? It's time for bed. At 1 a.m., the neighbor's horses wake me up. I hear the hooves. Mina, still not really asleep, asked me what the noise is, and I just told her that it is the neighbor's horses. Someone knocks extremely loud at the door, the back door this time. But like, super strong, he's almost breaking the door. I can tell you that I discovered what adrenaline was at that time. I'm sure it's the same guy, and he's been trying to get into this house all along. Mina screams, I start to tremble everywhere. I have this feeling of being paralyzed, but still having so much energy to spend. It's very strange. I get up from bed to barricade the back door, and then call the cops. It is at that moment when I left my room that I hear a deaf and metallic noise. He opened the damn back door. He's on the porch now. So there's only one last door with a poor wooden hold under the small space at the bottom of the door that separates us. And he's still determined to come inside. For me at this moment, it is sure. He will enter. I'm not much of a fighter, but not by choice. I grab the biggest kitchen knife I have. I place myself in an angle where I have the best chance of catching him by surprise when he enters. And I was willing to use that knife to defend us, to defend Mina, who is paralyzed in bed. I'm so scared, but at the same time so much confidence. It's really very, very strange. When suddenly, in the midst of her millions of thoughts, Mina screams, "Stop, call the police." I look at her. She throws my phone at me, and I think instead of waiting, I wanted to maximize my chances of staying safe, while waiting for her behind the door. It's a good idea. So, always in the same position, ready to defend myself, I call the police. The phone call must have lasted 40 seconds. The policeman on the phone understood directly that it was serious. He asked me for the address, and they were on their way. At this moment, I found myself a little more relieved while staying on the lookout. This is where the individual starts mumbling incomprehensible stuff, which does not reassure me because from the noise he makes, I tell myself that he's either a drunk or on drugs or he's a mental patient. He must have figured out I called the cops, but he's still touching the handle and pushing the door. 3:10 a.m. I've never been happier to see flashing lights. The cops were here. 4 cops and 1 police dog. When I see them approaching the house, I hear noises behind the door. The individual seems to get scared and gives up. I heard the dog barking, the policeman screaming, and a man moaning. It was over. The individual neutralizes and gets into the car. One of the police officers came over to talk to us and to take our side of the story and find out whether we wanted to file a complaint or not. He told us that there was a chance that this man was a rehab patient who had run away. He also told us that he was not sure of anything at the time and that they will have to verify his identity, but we never heard anything from the police again.